We are live, and hello everyone. Welcome to today's stream. I am surrounded by some of the community's most brilliant minds. They are some of the winners of from our past our first developers contest. Extend Omniverse. So they've each written, an extension for Omniverse, and won the contest. So I'm really excited to share with you what they've been doing, what they did, what they're going to continue to do, and hopefully inspire you guys to make some more extensions for us. So right now, I'd like to, before we get started, share with you something that we just started finishing work on, and that's our community webpage. So you can find the link on the launcher, or you can do nvidia.com/omniverse/community and sign up. You can give us as much information as you want, but this is basically a great way to network with other people in the community. It gives us an idea of what you're interested in, so that we can tailor, the community experience around what your interests are. So definitely check it out. Go on there, sign up, and share with us what you're doing with Omniverse.
Yeah, and the cool thing about that form, the insider form, it's on that community page at the top, is that you can always go back and update it. It's super easy to update. If you're working with new apps or doing new things, you can just go back. If you don't, want to complete everything right now, just complete what you can and then go back to it. But we are so happy to be able to do this, because it's a great way for us to learn about all the great stuff happening, all the great people who are working with Omniverse. It gives us a chance to identify people we could highlight, whether it's through the Omniverse gallery page, which we would love people to upload stuff to, or the Meet the Omnivore series, or coming on the live stream. So that would be really great. And let us know if you also are looking for more stuff on the community page that's not currently there. I think we did a really good job of putting all this stuff together, but it's really for you. So let us know if there's something that's missing or we overlooked, which is always possible. It's going to be a living, breathing page, so I imagine we'll be updating pretty regularly. And down the bottom, we have a nice link to all our upcoming events, live streams. Ashley's are on there, Maddie's are on there. These Wednesday live streams are on there. And we also have been putting in some other events where Omniverse leads are speaking at different places. You can see those events there. So it's a great one place stop to kind of find out what's going on, and then add to your own calendar, whatever calendar you use. So it's a cool feature of the community page towards the bottom. Speaking of MTO, I just got word. So thank you to Angie and of course Greer. I just got word that we have just launched the Meet the Omnivore series on one of our panelists who's here today. So Yitsu, your Meet the Omnivore blog is now live as a few minutes ago. We'll post a link in the chat, but if you do a search for Meet the Omnivore, you'll probably see it. If not, check the link in the chat. But it's a great more background on Yitsu, who's one of the winners of the contest, and also a great developer to kind of learn more about. So that being said, why don't we talk about who's here with us today? Like I just said in the warm up. We got a full, this is a world record for our live stream in terms of number of participants. So hopefully nothing blows up, but so far it looks good. Want to give a big thank you to the NVIDIA developers that are here with us, Ashley and Jen, of course, Maddie, who's a regular. But most especially some of the winners from different parts of the world are able to join us today and share information about their extension, how they made it, why they made it, what's special about it. And of course, most importantly, we want to take your questions on these extensions or any kind of extension development questions you might have, or development questions. So we have a few people here. So we have Yitsu, who I just mentioned, and you're in California right now in your PhD program. So there's more information about that in the blog, but thank you for joining us. We have Vadim, Gavin, and we also have Antonio, who is now a veteran of this live stream. This is his second live stream with us. People might remember the live stream he did with us showing off his Isaac sim work. So thank you all for coming today. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I think Ashley is going to kick things off with Yitsu.
Yeah, so Yitsu created such a cool extension. I was taking a look at it earlier. There's so many elements to it. It's called Indoor Kit, and you are basically like training this robot arm to do different tasks. And you can record the tasks that it's doing and save them so that you can have that layout for later on. You can also use a controller to do this or your keyboard and change how your scene looks through the ground, how much light is going through your scene, what kind of light, like a sunny sky type, cloudy, overcast, even nighttime. You can change the material in your scene and save that scene to use for your layout. So just a really cool extension. There's so much to it, and it just seems so complicated. I'm so curious to hear about this extension.
But Yitsu, would you like to give us more background on the extension itself and what inspired you to create it?
Yeah, so please let me share my screen first.
Cool, we're gonna get a nice little demo with it and everything. This is exciting.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
here is the very just the default background of Omniverse Create. I'm using the version Omniverse Create 2022 2.2, which is the latest version, I guess. And you can also use it in exact same and code. It doesn't really matter. And once you have imported my extension from the window, so search indoor, and here's the indoor kit, and you will screen, you'll see the this is the UI I have here. So basically, the UI has four parts: the task layout, the scene utility, and playing with the role. And let me start it one by one. So for the task layout, first we can choose the task type here. But basically, I included four types of tasks: pick up an object, reorient an object, pour water, and open a drawer. So let's for demo, let's pick up the most difficult one, I guess, is the pour water, since it works with the liquid. And once you choose the task type, and you can assign the object ID. So I have included 20 of them, so 0 to 19, and you can play with it to get the number you need. For example, here I get the object ID 15, and click Add Object, and you can see that here's the robot, and here's the object that is bring into the scene. And this is the object and robot. Once we have done that, I prepared three kinds of house background into the environment, and I'm including more of them into my repository. Since the housing USD files and the materials are so large, I don't want to make the repository too large. So I only include three of them into this extension. You can bring it as you wish. Okay, so let me add the house. And here you can see that once we include in the house, and we can just move it around. So move it around and record the object into the right place. You can just change the translation and the rotation for the robot. And once we have done that, so click record scene, and it will record the position and rotation for the robot and object and the scene as well. And this is the first part. And for the second part, please start a new scene, and then click load scene. Okay, so once it's done with loading, and you can see that the robot is here, and the object is equipped with the material, the glass material, and also with the particles. And right now the particles are not perfect enough. They are just particles without any isosurface. So I enabled isosurface here by clicking the enable isosurface in the scene utility, and I started again. So this time, okay, you can see that it transferred the isosurface or the particle into the deep water liquid. And let's play with some scene utilities to make it better. First, we can change the light type, change the light rotation. So to make it brighter, change it brighter, change the light here. And you can just drag this button, drag this slider to change the light intensity from 0 to 3000 for the light intensity. And also, if you like, you can assign a sky type. Example, this is the sunny sky type. And then we can record the house material, randomize the house materials. This is with respect to the floor and the wall. Example, let me click it, and we'll change it to another style. And you can also just set it back to the default material by clicking the default. Okay, so let me just a little bit lagging. Okay, so this is a default. And right now we can play with the robot. And this is the most interesting part. And I spend most time doing is just how to drive this robot and how to make it playable and replayable for the robot actions. So if you click record here, it will start. You can start playing with the robot and record, and the actions for the robot with respect to the joint position and rotation will be automatically recording. Let me start it. And you can see that here are the panels for control the robot. So we have W, just moving forward. And if you hover it around, it will show the tips. For example, S is move the end factor backward. Okay, and also you can left, right, and up, down, up. Okay, and also this controls the rotation of the hand as well. And also you can play with your with your keyboard, so which is an easy way. And notice that this movement is with respect to the robot itself. Let me start it again and make it smoother. Okay, so let me pull it back. So I'm using my keyboard right now and using also click it here. So let me bring it down a little bit. Let me just push away the glass to make the water pool down on the bottom. Let me see if I can do that. Okay, so this is the effect. And I see that it looks really realistic and really awesome. So the simulation of water and simulation of robot is so realistic. And let me click replay to show it again. Okay, so after click replaying, you can see that it's automatically replaying. My mouse is here. I'm not touching anything, and action can be recorded. And this is really important for the training of robot and the training of just the artificial intelligence models. And if you have this, we can just collect a lot of data from my extension and train a robot to make it really an intelligent agent afterward. Okay, so let me stop it. And if you want to just make a picture of this, you can just, for example, click capture image, and the image will automatically capture and it will be saved in your path. You can also see your, for example, the layout path in the task folder and the robot recordings in the recording folder. Once you click this little button on the right, and it will show you the location on your computer where to save those files. And that's it. I think that's for my extension. Hope you enjoy it.
Very cool.
Your robot's
Amazing.
a little deviant, spilling your martini.
Bad robot.
Yeah.
We had an interesting question in the chat right away about, I think you had shown off controlling it with the Xbox controller, the gamepad. So what extra work was involved in integrating that?
So that's a really good question. For example, so I have a controller right now, and in the beginning, it is a default version of this app is actually working with this the Xbox controller. And what it actually do is to bring in another open source package called PyGame. So it's a Pygame. So once you have the Pygame, you can automatically read the input from the keyboard controller for the bottom and for the handle. So for handle, and it's just the same. So and it can be done by the keyboard. I'm writing it for the keyboard version because it brings less facilities. So we don't require an Xbox or Pygame. But one thing I really enjoy Omniverse is you can bring any open source package from GitHub with Python you want. The Python, if you get Python included, just the exports or the PS5, PS4 controller automatically works.
Yeah. Very cool.
So wild. And Maddie, anyone can grab this extension, right?
Yeah.
So how people grab it?
So for any extension that was submitted to the contest, based off of the submission requirements, those were input into our community extensions tab in the extension manager. So when you go to the extension manager, there's a community tab. You can click on that, and it'll list all the community extensions, and you'll find the contestant entries there as well.
Community here, right?
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can find it later, or it's already there.
Let's search.
It's not ready.
Oh, it's not there.
And not there already. But I think so. You just go to the GitHub and GitHub and search the Omniverse Kit extension, and I think all of our extensions are there. So all open sourced, and you can see the full code.
Very cool. Made me a little anxious watching that robot pour the glass. It felt like watching my toddler trying to pour a drink.
It's not real, Maddie.
It looks real.
Still felt like I needed to clean it up afterwards.
Yeah.
All right. Who do we have next? Thank you. Great.
Oh, I think Edward dropped. Yeah, so who's up next?
I think I am.
Yeah. We got Vadim up next, who has
Vadim,
an
yes.
amazing material manager extension.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I actually I was kind of looking into it, and I wanted one for myself, so I actually do kind of use this on a daily basis. Not gonna lie, because I hate kind of just going through and it's like, oh, I have all these materials, and then going through the properties and then reassigning them. But you're able to just be like, hey, I'm selecting my object. I can just like get through a slider bar, go through all the materials. I can even make variants like super easy. Just click on it and hit add. And this is like something that I could see any like architectural visual company being like, hey, let's just go through and see all these materials instead of like, hey, let's go out and render out like 10 different samples for you guys. So it's pretty cool and pretty awesome. So I think Vadim, you're gonna show us a bit of a demo of how this kind of works.
Let me share my screen. All right, is it visible?
Yes.
All right, great. So let me share at first how to install it. You go to the window and to extension tab and just type in the community tab material. And this is it. Just click to install and enable it. Once you enable it, you'll see this window. It says, please select any object to edit it. I prepared this scene, this small scene, to showcase how everything works. So let me click on this object first. Here you see current materials that this object has. You can select one and edit easily. And here you can create a new variant for this object. By default, it's called look 1, and we'll increment look 2, look 3, and so on. So let's just go to the material tab and assign a new material for this object, like this one. So new object assigned, and now we can just switch back to the original one and to the new one. And you can create as many as you want. So if you in your work need to showcase something in your scene, it will help you a lot. This extension will help you a lot with that. And you can have as many objects as you want, like this one. Oh, yeah, no, this one I prepared beforehand. This has different materials as well. and this one too, I think. Yeah. Also, if you have a large scene, you can forget which models you have with different materials. So you can open Settings tab, and here is the list of all your edited object with variants. So you can select one, and it will automatically show where it is in your scene. Also, just recently I added into settings a roaming mode. Once you enable it, it will automatically show up this window on top of the object once you look at it.
Ooh.
Ooh, that's
So-
fancy.
So
Yeah.
cool. I'm an artist, so this extension, I'm going to be using it all of the time.
Yeah, you should. I do. It's actually kind of useful. So, but I also heard, Vadim, that you've also been working on another one
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is for optimizing your camera views.
Yeah, let me change a scene real quick to the more complex one. So I have this scene, my second extension called Camera View Optimizer that let you quickly hide object that you don't want to show in the view of your camera. So for example, this apartment, and I need to render just this kitchen. So basically, I don't need everything else what's behind this the camera. And it will be great to hide it automatically and save some performance and VRAM. So just click optimize. It has default values. You can hover on each settings and see what it does. Let me just click optimize and see how it works. Takes some time to process everything. Done. And once we turn back, we'll see that a lot of things now hidden. So what it practically does is it uses your camera in the viewport and change real quick to different fog to scan for object that visible right now. And if it's not visible, it just hide it. And it also has object size value. So for example, you don't really want to hide your floor or walls because it will affect your lighting a lot. So you just type in the maximum object size that you want to keep, and it will keep automatically. So for example, if I type in 3000 and do optimization again, it will, no, it won't for some reason. So yeah, let me check this real quick. Oh, it's not working for some. Oh, I check this later. It also has filtering functionality. So if you have some objects in your scene that you want always hide or always show, you can type in a part of the name of this object and it will be hidden automatically. You can also revert everything back by showing all, and it will show everything back. And that's it, I think.
Wow. That is really handy.
Very cool. And one of the questions we got is, and this could go for all of you guys, is what did you find most helpful when learning about Omniverse for development? What resources did you use when working on your extension? Obviously, we have workflow videos, documentation, but we have our forums and Discord, obviously. But what did you find most helpful to you? I guess we'll start with Vadim.
Yeah, the most helpful resource was documentation, of course. There's just a lot of information there. There's also a YouTube channel where there's a lot of content about UI, how to render everything, and just you can use it for your work. And Discord, of course, you can ask Jen or Ashley. They're very helpful. They have a lot of a live stream going on. So, yeah.
That's the answer I was looking for, actually. None of the other ones really mattered to me. I'm just kidding. Jitsu, what did you use for your learning?
For my learning, I think the most helpful thing is that I noticed that every single button, every single line in Omniverse is Python coded almost. So I just search the source code from the VS Code, and it will tell you anything about. For example, if you want to change the visibility, you just go to the source files and search the keyword visibility or visible, and it will show you how to change the visibility of something. And for example, lighting, button, and UI. So for the for the UI, so it all has the Python code. I looked a lot looked a lot deep into the resource source code, and I learned a lot from them. And also the documentation and Discord are helpful.
Very cool. That's awesome. And speaking of Discord, so one of the developers who we're talking to, Gavin, he actually started chatting with us on Discord early on, and in his excitement for this contest. And he had a prediction, actually, which I thought was really funny. Either he was going to be really correct or really, really wrong. But he told me early on, he's like, "Hey man, just so you know, I'm going to win this thing." And I said, "Oh, okay, that's nice." And he was one of the winners. So let's listen to this man because he knows what he's talking about. I was really impressed, Gavin, with the way. So first of all, your passion for developing this extension, because you have a lot of experience in this area that your extension is based on. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about what your extension does and why you made it?
All right, yeah, let me share my screen and I'll talk about it here. Yeah, so I'm an Azure cloud solution architect. And so I spend all day, kind of looking at resources in the cloud and kind of planning them. And there's a lot of different kind of documentation tools they use in that context. But, they're all kind of old school 2D, just like, diagrams, stuff like that. So, given the metaverse, I was like, man, I would just love to see Azure in the metaverse, my cloud environment in the metaverse. And so just kind of started there, right? I kind of came up with kind of a high level design. So kind of over here on the left, right, I start with the Azure cloud. But I thought, well, it might help if people don't have access to the cloud because it's highly permissioned, that we could just use some data files as well. So I kind of built it to use either one. So there's an Azure Data Manager and then like a CSV Data Manager. So they both import kind of the same data into this Data Manager class, which kind of loads it all up into this store. And so once you've got data, then you can visualize it in different ways. So I started obviously with just, some groups like planes to put things on. And you can see some of the pictures here of, the planes that the things all sit on. And so I kind of started there with just some of these different planes to find a way to place things. And I had a guy help me out with some of the 3D art. He actually did it for free just to kind of help me out, a friend of mine named Andy. And so that was great. He helped design all the 3D icons for me from the references that Microsoft provides. So, I'll kind of demo some of this for you. Same kind of thing, right? Just come up here. I'm using an older version, 1.1, because there's an issue with the newer version with my API connection to Azure. But then the older version, if you just type Meta, you can see it here. So you enable the extension called Meta Cloud Explorer. And then it shows up in the window, so you can just check it off here. It'll show up, and then I've docked it over here on the right. So once you've got it loaded, you got to get that data first. You can see here I have 0 groups, 0 resources. You can either connect live to a cloud. So here's my connection information for my cloud. I can just connect. It'll take a second. It'll load. It'll go out and query the API and then aggregate the resources. Give it 1 sec here.
And how long did you spend on making this?
Probably about 2 months. I have a full-time job, so I was kind of doing this on nights and weekends. But about 2 months to build it for the contest.
Very cool. And what resources do you use?
I found Maddie to be a good resource, Discord to be a good resource, and then the GitHub stuff. You know, I have 4 monitors, so I constantly would have like one extension over here and another extension over here, and mine in the middle, and then Omniverse on the fourth. You know, so I
Nice.
just to have all those references all the time is really helpful. You know, working code really helps. So now that I've got data, I can just choose to display it in one of these 4 different ways. So if I say groups, it'll take just a second and it'll render all of the infrastructure on these planes as groups. So if you
That
look
is so
at the
cool.
different names, these are the names of my groups. I can kind of move around in here and look at it. You can say it'll show it by location, and it'll reorganize everything to be kind of by location. You could say show it by resource type, and then so it'll regroup everything and then show you, here's all my key vaults, here's all my storage accounts, here's my DNS zones, my management solutions, different pieces. So this is kind of my live. I just connected live to Azure, but you can also, if you come down here, you can just clear the imported data, and I can load up a small company. This is just a sample, and I could say clear the stage and show the groups. And so it's a different data set now. This is the demo data set that I used. You can see I included
Extracted.
my observation deck here, which is kind of fun. But you can see all the same resources and all the stuff. And then cost data, if you just click show hide cost, it flips all the shaders and will show you the cost data, for each of these groups. So if you're looking at by location, I could clear show location. It'll show me, in the West US data center, and I could show the costs. So it would show me how much it costs per month for all those resources. And I also have a large data set. This one takes a little bit longer, but it's pretty cool to see. So if I just say load large company, see it's 1,100 resources, 150 groups. Let me clear and say groups. And so it takes a minute to paint this, but it actually does it. You can watch it do it, which is kind of cool. So it hangs for just 1 second while it crunches some stuff, and then it starts to render everything.
Such a cool visual style, though, I have to say. Well, how did you design the visual style? Working with your friend, or?
Yeah, we had some different ideas. We were thinking about maybe building like a pyramid and making a 3D pyramid with a bunch of different structure to it. If I zoom out here, you can see the scale of this. So it's creating shaders. You can see it kind of doing it in a left to right, back to forth pattern. It creates all the shaders, and then it'll apply the images that back up those shaders. So as it's flying through here, it's a little faster on my 3090 Ti.
This is so fun to watch.
I know, it was
It
so
really
cool
is.
the first time to watch this do this, because I was just like giddy. I was literally just laughing to myself because it's so cool, to see it. And then so now it'll start filling in all the. So I can zoom in while it's doing it here, and you can.
You could record this and put this on TikTok, and it'd be a viral hit just because it's so satisfying.
Right. You zoom in a little bit here. It's a little rough while it's painting. You can see it laying them all out. So once it's done rendering, it'll become a little bit more responsive, obviously. Just about there. There.
So do you use this in your meetings now when you're trying to describe what's going on in the cloud?
I haven't yet. It was kind of just a tool for me to really just explore, my environment and get a visual of, the different resources that are here. I wanted to add some additional functionality, so that you can see it, and make it live in essence instead of having to redo it every time. And then in my newer version that works with 1.3, when you click on these, you get an info window that pops up I got a little sample of that here. You can see it pops up like an info window. So you can see the cost and where it's at and all the information about each resource. So you can select them independently. But yeah, so and then the quick starts I built in were kind of a way to just help people, generate. So this right here is the bin packer. Kind of starts in the corner and just does a left to right across as it can, fill in different groups. But maybe you want, something else. So if let me go to the smaller data set so it's not so slow. But if I clear the stage here real quick, to show you how these different quick starts work. It's a lot of stuff to clear.
Have you heard from other users that have started fooling around with this yet?
Not yet. So let me load my small company. And then, so the scene composition options, I kind of just started with this, right? I said, okay, do you want to use symmetric groups or not? And that's like, should the group size be all the same or should it be based on how many resources are in it? So that's a choice and it'll help with, how things render. And then bin packing is whether you want to use this algorithm or not. And then I have some kind of canned images that give you the low, medium, high cost base to render the dynamic images off. And then this is kind of what decides what it's going to look like, right? I have 4 groups on the x-axis. They're this far apart. And then a random factor. And so I did that on XYZ. And then these quick starts, all they really do, you can see, is it just changes. So as I change views, it really just changes the composition options. So you can see that changes it to 4:4:40. This one changes it to 20:4:4. This one would make it 2:2:60. So, that just means that if I render this now, it's going to be kind of look like a tower where it has 2 per axis. And then, it kind of renders it upwards on the Z, which is kind of cool. Depending on how you want to see it, I could do it by the islands. So same thing, group. And it'll just kind of render it like in a different structure. So you can look at it however you want. You can obviously move everything around. So this select groups just will select them for you so you can move stuff around a little bit easier instead of having to manually do that. So that was really it.
That's awesome. Very, very cool. Very, very unique entry too. Very different from everybody else's. And I could see how there'd be admins who would just love to have this kind of functionality. Looking at their
Absolutely.
at their costs, especially too. It's really neat.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So hey, thanks to Omniverse, I mean, I was able to build this in just a couple months, and I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. There was a lot of stuff that I just kind of got out of the box, which was amazing.
That's
So,
awesome,
good to
and I'm equally impressed by your ability to predict the future. I may have some questions for you on stock market after this call. It helped me a little bit. Well, thank you very much, and very exciting, and thank you for also being so involved on Discord, as all of you really are. So thank you so much for participating with the community. Speaking of which, so when I asked who would like to introduce this next gentleman, Maddie almost kind of pulled a muscle because he responded so quickly. So Maddie, why don't you intro our next guest?
All right. So last but not least is our honorable mention, Antonio Serrano Munoz. And the judges said that they picked him because he's submitted a number of developer extensions and also IsaacSim. He's been around the block a little bit. He's been in Omniverse years. He's like a senior citizen. But yeah, we really appreciate the work that he's done to provide tools for developers and also for IsaacSim researchers. And I use his VS Code extension every Friday at the very least. So that's why I wanted to be able to present him. So he's going to be telling us about his Jupyter Notebook and VS Code extensions today.
Okay. I didn't know about the use of those extensions in a public domain. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, go live. Like Mati mentioned, yes, and there are two extensions that got a neural mention by the jury, which is the Jupyter Notebook and the Visual Studio Code editor for Omniverse. And the idea is to provide to the developers another tool that helps to create code, store the code, annotate, comment, and many other things that you can do using just a text editor. So, for example, this is the Visual Studio 1. You have first to import or install the counterpart of the NVIDIA Omniverse extension, the counterpart for the Visual Studio Code, in order to connect both applications. And after that, you can play with the code. And for example, this is a simple code that generates some blocks or cube, and we can play. If we type, I have several options to run the code. One, for example, is run the whole code like this. As you can see, I can prove the whole code. Something wrong here, I don't know, imbalance is maybe because, oh, okay. But I can also just run a selected code for that. For example, if I clear the output, I am going to just run the selected one. And for example, I have printed the current stage object. And in the same way, there is also the Jupyter Notebook 1. Both extensions create an entry on the Windows menu, where if you click it, you can have the IP and the port where the extension is running. Then you can open it in the Visual Studio Code and run some code from there. And for example, this one, there are some snippets inside, and you can open some of this snippet, for example, this one, and run the cell by cell, and you will get the output of running if there is some print function, for example, but you will be able to run the code. And also, because this is a feature for the Jupyter Notebook, you can include some advanced annotation with Markdown syntax, or include and save it to the storage and organize it in folders in order to be able to reuse the code, for example. And there are some snippets inside of this one. I mean, there are just a code editor and a tool for the developers in order to provide another kind of access to the code and run the code of Python code specifically for Omniverse. And I think is all.
I love that.
Yeah,
Very cool.
such a cool extension.
You know, and I have to say too, all a big thanks to you for being so engaging with the community on the forums. Really, really helpful to other developers. It's really, really nice to see. So thank you. And I have to say, for a senior of Omniverse, you are aging remarkably well. I will also talk to you after this live stream to get some tips. But you're looking really sharp. I feel like I'm talking to a future boss. It's only a matter of time before he's my boss at NVIDIA. Really fantastic. So, and did you have any other tips and tricks that you want to share to people on that one?
Regarding to the creation of the extension,
Yeah.
basically the other, for example, the idea of the GSO about use the code or read the code inside the Omniverse application, which is Python code. I use it a lot during creating the extension, but apart of that, of course, using the documentation and the resources provided by NVIDIA, YouTube videos, and the Discord. Yes.
Cool.
Awesome.
Along the lines of how much experience everyone has with Omniverse, when did everyone start using Omniverse or developing for Omniverse?
I started using Omniverse, I think in about June 2020. I got an email. It's funny, I got an advertising email from NVIDIA because I signed up in the NVIDIA developer program to install some drivers, and I got an email, and because I started doing my PhD, really I finished it, I was looking for simulator, and in this NVIDIA developers email, I saw about ISAP Gene in its starting, and I go for it, just for it.
Cool.
And yes.
I started out with Unity at first. I'm a C# developer, so kind of seemed like a natural fit. But I don't know. I really just struggled. I felt like Unity was like super old and crappy graphics, and so I got a new video card in June and started working with Omniverse in July, and I had to learn Python. I didn't know Python either, so crash course on Python, and I wasn't gonna do an extension for the contest at first. I was just messing around, but I think as things started to come together, I was like, "Hey, there's something here. I should really finish this and submit it." So fun stuff.
Nice. Vadim?
I started for about 3 months ago. At first, I created a small extension for myself for Blender that makes a bit easier to use Blender with Omniverse. Just automate some stuff for myself. And after that, I heard about your contest, so I just decided to participate.
Awesome. So yeah, just amazing how you guys have been able to just learn and build something so remarkable in such little time. Yitsu, what about you?
Yeah, I started Omniverse actually this year, beginning of this year. So one professor in my community said that you can try Omniverse. The physics and the rendering effects are perfect for robotics, for everything, and you should definitely look into it. And that's why I go into it. As in, he gave me the perfect suggestion.
Very cool.
It's so interesting that Gavin says he comes from Unity. I came from Unity too. I'm a C# developer, and I was a little intimidated with the idea of learning like a whole nother language, another coding language. And so when I got started in Omniverse, like I thought that was going to be the most daunting thing. And that's like a lot what I explore in my Learn With Me series is that Python is actually pretty easy to pick up. And all of you guys are proof of that, just in a few months, what you're capable of doing. So if anyone's listening to this and you're like, oh gosh, now I have to learn Python, it's really not that.
That's so good. I know we'll let our marketing team know that those emails are effective. We got Antonio from one of those emails. That's great. That's another reason for people to definitely check out the community site and to do the Insider application. It's not really an application, just a form where you check off kind of what apps you're using. And regarding Blender, so Vadim, did you release that extension, or are you interested in releasing that extension to the public?
I think it's on the forum.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got to get that in there added because I think we're Maddie. Can you explain a little bit about like what our goal is or our current roadmap for letting more community extensions be easily accessible?
I think Jen actually might be better for answering that one. Who wants to take?
So someone makes an extension. What's the general kind of plan now for making those widely available? Jen or Ashley?
Before, maybe there's been an update to this, as far as I'm aware, is publishing it to GitHub and making a release of it and having Omniverse in one of your tags. We have a step-by-step how we did that for the contest. Jen, is there something different that I'm not aware of?
I think Justin is holding all that information.
Justin.
So,
We
I know we
definitely-
were supposed to have a meeting this morning and he didn't show up. So
We're supposed to, we're doing our best to make it easier because we do have some issues occasionally where the release is not picked up by the crawler and thrown into the community. I published my joint extension doing it that way and didn't experience any issues. It's just kind of here and there. So I know there is a better way coming out, but right now it's publishing it to GitHub, making your release, and tagging Omniverse in your
Definitely
release.
let us know if anyone's out there and is having any difficulties with that. We will definitely help. And Vadim, I'm really curious because we have a lot of Blender users out there who are using Omniverse also. What advice do you have for people using Blender and Omniverse? What would you say the big reason is for leveraging Omniverse with Blender?
It allows you to quickly just export your scene and edit in the different programs. If you working with someone who's not familiar with Blender, and it allows you to collaborate with them easily. So
Are you using other tools as well besides Blender?
Yeah. Unreal Engine, Omniverse, and that's it. Yeah.
Very cool.
Nice.
Well, I have to follow up with you. Maybe we can pull some videos out of you for tutorials
All right.
for Blender Omniverse workflows. That would be great. Gentlemen and ladies, thank you so much. This has been such a fun live stream. I'm going to share my screen for a second. I'm going to try to anyway, because I think, one of the other ways to learn is from checking out what's happening on at GTC. And our GTC sessions are available to view even if you don't go live to GTC virtually, that is. But even if you don't attend during GTC when it's happening, you could check out the sessions after the fact. And we make those sessions available just by registering, and it's free. So, like for example, hopefully this share is okay. We have a great session that you can check out from none other than our own Damien, who is a fan favorite here and everywhere. And he's got a great session that teaches you how to build extension snaps for virtual worlds with Omniverse. That is a really good one. So you just basically go to the GTC site. I think you just go to nvidia.com/GTC. You could search the session catalog. And look at all these sessions. You can see right here, I could play this about a 15-minute session. Look at that. Oh my God, so much good info right there. I can hear Damien right now in my head. So there are lots of sessions for different industries, topics, whatever you want to look for. You can just go to check out the sessions right on the session catalog here. This one was really cool. This one was about the Racer RTX development, how the team put together in just a few months one of the nicest looking demos that's going to be released as a playable in the not too distant future, and really blew people away right away. So that is also available here at GT Sessions. So definitely check out these sessions. They're great to play back. You can watch them at your convenience, pause, fast forward, rewind, and it's all free. So normally what we do after the stream, if everyone has a few minutes, we can jump onto the Discord server, which is discord.gg/NVIDIA Omniverse, and we hang out in the community voice chat room. We actually started a new room this week, so we have room 1 and room 2. Maybe we'll get more creative at figuring out how to name those, but we did that because we have so much happening now live, not only with developers from our team, like Maddie and Ashley and Jen, who are doing stuff live, but also Eric also is doing live sessions. But also we have some community members like Marcom3D is doing awesome stuff on our Discord server just randomly. He'll just go in there and start doing stuff live and people can jump in. So we created an extra room so people always have a space to go. And whenever you see someone in there, just feel free to jump in. You can chat in the text bubble if you don't want to turn on your mic, or you can just watch. But I think it's a really great way to interact with other users and developers on Omniverse. And maybe you'll see one of these guests in there soon with us too. So did we forget anything? Anyone from the team here?
Something really quick before we close out. Last week, we published 3 DLI courses on the Deep Learning Institute for creating extensions, making 3D layout extensions, using Omni UI, and scene manipulators. They're self-paced courses. They're only about 90 minutes long. There are video components to it too that can help you. So if anyone is wondering how these awesome contest winners were able to make extensions, check out those courses and it'll probably help you out with the next contest.
Very cool.
I posted that in the Twitch chat too.
That's great. Awesome. Well, thank you again. So we're going to bid farewell on the YouTube and Twitch stream, but we're going to hop on to Discord. We'll hang out there for a few minutes, take some people's questions. If we didn't get you in the chat, we'll do it now. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We have California, Ukraine, Spain, right, Antonio? You're in Spain right now? Spain. And Gavin, where are you?
I'm in Arizona.
Arizona. Never want to forget Arizona. Thank you all for joining us. And thank you for the great conversation, everybody. And thank you for the viewers. We'll see you next week. Oh, actually, Maddie, what are we doing next week? It's a good one.
Oh yeah, we're doing a spotlight on Heavy AI. It's a company that they showed at GTC an application built on Kit for telecommunication processing of 5G networks, and so they're going to be coming on and telling us about how they built the app. It is a Kit app, and they have some custom UI that they've built, so it'll be really cool to see a deep dive into that.
I saw that. That's going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So that is next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific. So stay tuned for that. Otherwise, farewell for now, but we'll see you on the Discord server in a few minutes if you want to join us. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Queen of the Stream, Wendy, for managing all the technical challenges with having this nice, large panel.
My pleasure. Yeah.
We'll see everybody soon.
Yep. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.